Hello, this is how to change out your board on your OP900. It could be an A or B model. Anyways, the board on this indicator is bad. So you do is turn it over and you would actually take out all the screws and move the back. So I'll do that now. So I have all the screws taken off and actually could place it down and put the cover to the side. I have a battery on mine, so yours might be flat or not, but either way the board is still the same. And we'll start removing some of these connectors so I'll get a closer look. So this is a closer overhead look. So this tan cable is your keypad. So we're actually going to grab it by the black plastic part and pull upwards. Careful not to move left or right because that will actually damage the pins underneath. So you're going to slowly move upward. Cable. So this is for your keypad in the front. So when you push those buttons, this is what registers to the board. Okay, I have it removed. So now these are for power. These three are for your scoreboard or your RS-232 port, which could be your printer. And these are for your load cell. So you're going to take a small flathead screwdriver and remove the left two first. The left two are for your power adapter, your DC wall power. So you're gonna have to remember the color coordination, but you can see in the video. You loosen up. See, I take these two out. And these two you have to be very careful. These are the battery ends. You do not want to short the battery. So you're going to do one at a time. Loosen one. And make sure this end does not touch the black end because it will spark. So make sure it's far away. And this is the black end. Make sure not to touch the other positive end, the battery, so make sure it's far away. So you can see my red is here, my black is here, and there's currently nothing inside here. So you can see the cables I moved out of the way. So this one is for the load cell connector, the 5-pin. And this is for your RS-232 port. So it's TX being your red cable, RX being your cyan blue color, and ground being black. So you can just remove these. Okay, I remove those, and this is for your 5-pin. You can see EXC positive on the board. That's your red cable. Your SIG positive, if visible, that's a green cable. The HD is a shield yellow cable. S negative being your white cable, signal negative, and then EXC negative being your ground, the black. So it'll be in these color coordination to your 5-pin. Make sure not to mix it up with these red and black cables. This is specifically for the 5-pin on this part of the board. So loosen up all 5 of these. Okay, so now it's clear, and clear. So now you'll see the 4 screws here. You'll loosen these to loosen up the board. Okay, I'm on my last screw of the 4 corners. So loosen that up. Okay, my tip of the screw comes off. Now there's nothing holding the board in anymore, so you should be able to pull out gently. And you'll notice all the connectors, your 5-pin. This is for your serial RS-232 port, is for power. The pins right here for the keypad. And if you turn over, you can actually notice In this case, the LED screen, but if you have LCD, slightly different, but the board's still very similar way. So this is the one that's actually going to be replaced in this example. So now put it aside and get your new board from us. Either you contacted the returns department or bought a new one for a indicator that's more than a year old. So get your new board. This is my new board. And now you're going to place it underneath all the cables. Make sure all the cables are above it. You can see all my cables here. And make sure they all line up with the standoffs, all 4. Then make sure 10 cables above. We'll be able to connect the keypad. So now screw in your 4 connectors. Okay, so I'm actually screwing in the last screw for the standoffs. Now the board is in place and should have come out. Now we'll be attaching the keypad first. So the order you put it back in is not important, but I start with the keypad. Make sure all line up. Make sure there's no pins sticking out. And gently push down. Just make sure the keypad works. So next you will try to connect the 5-pin connector. So remember I separated these 2 out. You notice specifically how this comes from the 5-pin itself on 900. If you have an internal OP900 with a 5-pin that goes inward, but it's very similar process. You just make sure distinguish your 5 colors. Those should bundle together. And you'll see the writing on here, EXC positive being your red cable. So you're gonna put that in, and I will jump to that. Okay, so I got my EXC positive. Now next is signal positive, SIG positive, being your green cable, and HD being your shield cable. So I'll do those next. Okay, so now I have my SIG negative, being a white cable, and my EXC negative being my black cable. So make sure you don't mix them up. So here's my 5-pin connector, my white and black. So SIG negative being white, EXC negative being black. So put that in now. And what I mean by putting it in, so put the black cable in, for example. Put it all the way in, and make sure the connector is not sticking out at all. So you're gonna need 2 hands for this operation. And then you're gonna take a screwdriver and screw it clockwise. So you notice how all the cables are in now. You could tug on each one by one and seeing if they're loose by any chance. It shouldn't be. If not, if they are, you might counterclockwise this screw. Make sure it goes all the way in and screw it down clockwise again. So next will be the next 3, which TX, RX, and ground. So be careful not to mix up your red and black cables from red and black for the RH32 port, because you will fry something. You'll see how these 3 cables specifically go to the 9-pin connector. And I separated these out, and then I separated the battery connectors out. So make sure these are not touching. Make sure it is the 9-pin connector that's been connected. So connect your R red cable to TX, then your blue cable to RX, and then ground's black. So you're gonna make sure your cable goes all the way in. And all the way in. Tighten this clockwise. So I make sure all my 9-pin cables go into the board, red, green, black. Next will be the power. You'll see how it says DC negative, DC positive, bat positive is battery, and bat negative. So it's going to be black and red from your DC port, which is your wall plug, and then your battery. Okay, connected my 2 DC ports in. So now it's your battery, so be careful with these not to touch each other. So now you're going to connect your battery positive to your 3rd port. So you see it's black, red from your DC port. Your red from your battery put it all the way in and screw it down. And then you'll do the black last one. So it's the last one. Make sure it doesn't touch the red cable at all. So you're gonna make sure it goes all the way in to the board and then screw it down. So I think I have everything set. My tan cable for my keypad. My 5-pin for my load cell that connects to my bench scale, floor scale, whatever connect to your scale. The 3 connectors for your 9-pin, your DB9 connector, which could go to scoreboard or printer, and I make sure I have power. Seems like I have everything. So just test it out. You can turn over your indicator. Let's see if the new board is working. Turn it on. That's good. My keypad's working and it turns on. And it solved any shutting off issues that I've had. And that should be it. So now we can just turn this off. Put the cover on. Make sure not to smash any of the cables. Make sure it's all in. See, it's one cable sticking out, so make sure all the cables are in. So now put your screws back, and that should be all. That's how you replace a keypad on the OP900.